Hi, welcome to the 13th floor. I'm Marty Duda. Today we have a couple of folks from the Auckland Jazz Orchestra with us. A little jazz for a change. We have Mike Booth, who's a trumpet player. Mike?
Yep.
And Tim Atkinson, who's the music director and composer and plays a bit of saxophone on the side, if I understand correctly. Is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So welcome to the 13th floor. Thanks for
you.
coming by here. Well, obviously, we don't have the entire jazz orchestra in our little studio today, so you guys have recorded some stuff previously that we're going to be seeing and hearing. But first, we need to know a little bit about your new release. It's called Bloom. It's just come out. And it's interesting because I find for a jazz release, it's all original material, for one thing, which is significant. One of you, whoever decides to take the bait, tell us just a little bit about the Auckland Jazz Orchestra and start out with a little background on this record, if you can.
Sure. Well, Tim always introduces the orchestra when we perform, so perhaps he'd like to do that.
Well, yeah. So we just talked actually quickly to figure out that the band's been operating for somewhere between 7 and 8 years. Really, the concept was to start a band that would focus primarily on being a vehicle for people who were writing arrangements and compositions for big bands in New Zealand to have their music played.
Are there a lot of those people?
Well, there's at least 2.
That's good enough.
There are a handful of people doing it, and there is a little bit of a tradition, but there weren't a lot of outlets.
Right.
For people to have their music played. So we thought we'd provide
Excellent.
something, and it was sort of selfish as well because we are two people who have been writing.
Right.
So it was good for us to have a way to have our music played more often.
And just for folks who may not know, define what a big band is.
Yeah, so it's kind of jazz's large ensemble,
right?
Similar to how classical has the orchestra. You know, the big band is to jazz that vehicle. 5 saxophones, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, and a rhythm section, and that's how we operated as well.
And are there plenty of players? Is there a good pool to choose from around New Zealand?
I would say there is a pool of good players. Like everything, all endeavours are sort of percentages based on population, you know. So in New Zealand, with the population quite spread out, we're sometimes struggling to find players for our band, and there's several big bands in Auckland who are playing regularly and offer something to people. So it's sometimes a challenge just to find the right people, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah.
And New Zealand being a bit spread out, we can't easily sort of offer a chair regularly to people from other centres. So we're a little bit limited to Auckland. And I guess we're called the Auckland Jazz Orchestra for that reason.
Makes sense. So we do have some music that we're going to hear you play, and let's get to the first track, which is called On Track, which is something that you've written. Is that correct?
Right. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
Well, I was trying to think of something, of writing something that I could play, something that sat well on my instrument, so that's the trumpet, something that sort of sounded a little bit clever but was actually easy to play. So I thought this was a good vehicle for myself, And so I wrote the initial sort of little idea of it, and I thought I could play that quite fast, so that'd be pretty cool. And at that time, I think I was sort of getting into the Coltrane tune Giant Steps. And for some reason, I thought it would be interesting in the middle of this tune to introduce a little bit of that Giant Steps harmony. And anyway, whatever the process is that you end up with a finished product, I ended up with a tune which I could manage the beginning of, but not the middle.
No.
And so it remains to this day. I'm still struggling with that damn bridge.
And you've got some help, you've got a guest on this track.
Yes.
Roger Mannins.
Yeah, that's right. Roger was very generous in his time and was keen to come and play with us and be included on the recording. So he's on a couple of tracks, and this is one of them. Yeah.
All righty. Well, let's give it a listen, and we'll come back and talk some more.
Cool.
Alrighty, we're here with Mike Booth and Tim Atkinson from the Auckland Jazz Orchestra, and we're talking about some tracks from their new album, Bloom. We just heard On Track. We've got another one waiting in the wings here, but just wanted to talk a little bit about the actual making of the record. I assume it's all recorded live in a studio somewhere. How does the process work for you guys?
Well, the concept with that album, the first album we put out, Darkly Dreaming, was one finite suite of music,
right?
And it all had the same themes. That record really is intended to be more of a representation of what we have been doing since we started the band. So it's a catalogue of pieces from, you know, not just the most recent era of what we've been performing, but, you know, a little bit back, sort of representative of the book that we have and we've built up since we've been operating. So that's the track list, the set that's on there, and we recorded it when? Last year?
Middle of last year it was.
Middle of last year. Right. Yep. We spent a weekend in KMC. The setup's in in the album cover actually, so you can see the way we way we do it.
Yep.
And yeah, we just take a few hits at each track, and then the process really begins.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say it's pretty much live to CD.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of mixing, a small bit of editing, but it's all recorded in one big room.
Yeah.
So we can't sort of repair things, or there's no.
Why would you want
cutting and pasting? Well, and that's in theory. That's it. It's a performance, and
Yeah. And your position as the musical director, what does that entail?
Sort of in a broad sense, deciding the direction of what we're doing,
right?
And what we want to be, how we want to sound, and what sort of music we want to play, and kind of our role. And then it's writing some of the music and rehearsing the band from week to week, and being in front of the band when we perform, and introducing people and songs.
And it being a big band, by definition, is it tough to get everybody together? I imagine that no one's getting rich off of being in the Auckland Jazz Orchestra, so they must have other priorities as well. So
yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be wary that people's lives are broad, and often we're one slice of the pie. So you have to be ready to accommodate people and compromise.
Yeah, of course. And the AJO has always relied on people's willingness to be a part of it,
right,
and be involved, and sort of contribute in lots of ways to the band, but not the least just with the energy and willingness to show up to rehearsal and keep things moving along.
Yep. So the next track we're going to hear is called Those Nights, and it's written by your alto sax player, Andrew Hall. So are you guys able to enlighten us with anything about it, since Andrew's not here?
Well, Andrew's an extremely talented young man, and he has written some fantastic tunes, and he arranged some of them for us, and so this is one of those. He wrote this tune, I think, for his smaller band called Spiral, and so he's transformed it into a big band arrangement, off the back of that. We like it, I think, because it's fairly modern rhythmically, a little bit hard hitting for us, and just a third concept brought to the table about a direction that we might be able to explore. So Those Nights, I don't know what the song is inspired by.
He's a keen surfer, and his family have a batch at Whiritai in the Coromandel Peninsula somewhere, and those nights, the nights that the title is referring to, are in the summer, humid, hot, heavy, uncomfortable. That's what he told me.
Sounds good. Sitting here in the middle of the winter, though.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, let's give it a listen. This is Those Nights, the Auckland Jazz Orchestra. Okay, we're back with Mike and Tim from the Auckland Jazz Orchestra. We just heard Those Nights. Now, the videotapes and the sessions that we're watching here are not the same sessions that produced the actual record.
That's right.
So what can you tell me about these sessions that we've been watching?
Well, we thought it was kind of fun. We needed to release the CD. That's what people do these days.
Yeah, sometimes.
And yeah, so we thought, you know, we'll do a concert, obviously, of the CD material. And it was kind of fun to do the concert at the same venue where we recorded the album. I thought it gave it an extra little depth.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. And we played it the same order as the CD. And what else can we say about that, Tim?
Well, not much, really.
So you're going to be releasing these tracks as a DVD or something as well?
Oh, no, I think the idea of the evening we videoed some of it, just to help with the promotion and so on. In the future, it seems these days you can't do very much without, you know, pictures online and all that sort of thing. So we need
pictures are good.
Yeah. So we were pretty, I've got to say once again, we're very fortunate to get support from different people. And, you know, the recording on the night from a chap called John Kim, who works in the KMC organisation, has recorded it and sort of led the videoing of it. And we've got Dennis, of course, who's also taking the pictures today.
Yes, he is.
Turn the camera around to get yourself.
Oh, he's blushing.
And, you know, without these people just being willing to help out and, you know, do it professionally in terms of standard, but do it in a helpful way, that, you know, in ways that we can afford.
Right.
It makes a huge difference to, you know, what we can achieve.
Gotcha. Now, I would have seen you guys, because you do other things as well. I saw you backing up the Aretha Franklin kind of tribute thing that happened at the Spiegel tent, I think it was.
That's right,
months ago?
for the Auckland Arts Festival.
Right.
Yeah, again, somebody who's been very supportive, Tama Waipara, has been interested in the band and has, over the last couple of years, got us involved a little bit in the Auckland Arts Festival. And that opportunity seemed to come up. It was an interesting idea to have a full big band backing to do Aretha Franklin material.
So you guys got funky.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's great music, and we had great singers to work with, and we did the arrangements for the show. Yeah. And just sort of slightly reinterpreted some of Aretha's tunes and some of the original tunes from the singers that were involved. Yeah. It was a pretty cool project, I've got to say.
It was really a privilege, a pleasure to be involved in, actually. It took a lot of work, but it was worth it in the end when we presented the show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it'd be cool to do that show again somewhere, somehow. You know?
Yeah, it does seem a shame that they just kind of dissipate. They're over with, and
yeah. Well, we did the 3 nights, you know, and it was just such a buzz.
Yeah.
And
so we have one more song we're going to hear. It's called Lakes, and Tim, it's one of yours. So what can you tell us about it?
That's one of the newer pieces that I wrote. I probably wrote it maybe 6 months before we did the recording. I'm just, you know, trying to explore some feels that I don't often work with. It's sort of a funkier piece, and I was hoping to capture something relatively simple, because what I wrote for Darkly Dreaming was a bit more on the adventurous side of composing for big band. So I just wanted something that was a relatively simple piece, easy on the ear, feels good, and the title is Lakes. It's referring to the Lakes district in the South Island around Queenstown, and I wanted something that was going to capture the feeling of going there, because I always love going to Queenstown, but there's always a lot on, so I wanted something that was going to have that kind of busyness and excitement about it.
Cool. And busyness and excitement, I assume folks will get a chance to see you performing live at some point. I mean, obviously, we're recording this here now. They could be watching it at any time, but you guys perform fairly regularly?
Yes, we try to, we take the opportunities that come up, of course. We've got a couple of things just very soon. Next week we're performing with Caitlin Smith.
Right.
And it's an interesting one for us because we're banding together with another big band from Auckland called Queen City Big Band. And we're fundraising for a third big band, and that's the Roger Fox Big Band that's going to the Monterey Festival at the end of this year. And they've been trying to raise money for it and struggling, and some of the young guys in that band, just being students, just can't gather the funds together to pay for their trip. So we're banding together in Auckland and doing a concert where all the proceeds will go towards that band's travel fund.
Right.
So that's just next week. And then soon after that, we're also doing a concert as part of the Creative Jazz Club series of concerts at the Uxbridge in Howick. And that's also with Caitlin. Now, Tim's written some fantastic vocal arrangements for Caitlin to sing with us.
Cool.
And they really are brilliant. And Caitlin's such a brilliant singer, It's
she is indeed.
Really something to see. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you guys. In the meantime, folks can get Bloom. It's out in whatever format people buy things or get them these days.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
We'll
man.
leave you with Lakes.
Much appreciated.